Everybody. So I've just bookmarked a few issues with David Bull and Nigel Farage that I think we should take a look at. This is the video I promised that I was going to do from earlier. So as I was making this video, it came to my attention after watching my Tusi that Nigel Farage is now taking a stance on Israel that would be right up there with the Labour Party's stance on Israel. He's basically criticising Israel, saying they're slowly losing friends. And, you know, again, I don't care about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. I'm just concerned about issues that are going on in my country. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because the Reform Party is shifting further and further to the left on everything. It's shifting to the left on immigration and a whole host of other things. And I'm pretty sure the people that voted for them way back last year in the summer, in the general election, if they knew now what the Reform Party actually stood for, many of them wouldn't have voted for them. And I can say that with confidence, because I was one of them. There's no way in hell, if this incarnation of the Reform Party presented itself as it is now before the last general election, there's no way in hell I would have voted for them. And I think it's been done purposely like this. I think a great many people have been misled into thinking that the Reform Party is a centre-right party. It's nothing of the sort. It really isn't. It's not a centre-right party at all. Like I said, they claim to be centrist, but in my opinion, they're leaning more to centre-left now than anything else. For some reason, they become this strange hybrid of Labour, the Liberal Democrats, the Tories, and I don't think it's any coincidence the fact that these are the people that have been brought into the party. These are the people that defected to the Reform Party, and it's showing. Not to mention the fact that we've got Zia Yusuf, who up until he joined the Reform Party was probably was a raving leftist. He was in university and that sort of thing. And a leopard doesn't change its spots, and I think it's starting to show through within the Reform Party. And Zia Yusuf is obviously pulling the strings in the background still, isn't he? So we'll go and take a look at this first. So this is basically what David Bull has said in the past on certain issues and topics. I just thought we'd have a look at this because this is very interesting and revealing about this guy's mentality. Now, I know full well that people over time can change their opinion, but when you look at his recent comments and then you look at his comments from the past, it all starts to make sense. It really does. Total idiot, inclusive, sex ed is important and must be compulsory. Tory MP, schools are not the place for education on LGBT. So he wanted this stuff to be taught in schools to our kids. And you're telling me that this person is right wing. I don't believe you. I don't believe you for a second. So look at the next one. 9-year-olds should be taught what it means to be LGBT. And this was in 2018, so this is just a year after the last post. Now, June Slater came out and defended him on this and says, "Oh, he could be actually disagreeing with it because it's in commas." But no, he's advocating for it. This is what he wants. Absolute insanity. So this was him advocating for censorship. We need Twitter to silence LGBT hate. Homophobia, biphobia, transphobia have no place online. So if you have a differing opinion to Dr. David Bull, then you deserve to be censored for it. Does this person sound right-wing to you? Does he sound like he's the sort of person that is going to go out there and help to reform Britain and take it back from the woke mob and, return it to a more saner time in this country's history? Because I don't think it is. I don't think he is. I really don't. See if there's any more. I think this might be the last one. I'm not sure. We'll take a look. Oh no, we've got the one for Angela Merkel, where he's praising Angela Merkel. This is from 2015, so this is way before those other posts. But he says this, retweeted The Economist. On refugees, Germany's Chancellor is brave, decisive and right. He's talking about Angela Merkel there and the fact that she opened the floodgates to Europe and let all the illegal immigrants flood the country, which is now basically the cause of the demise of mainland Europe and why it's such a shithole. And this guy here thought it was a great idea. Do you really think this is a guy that wants to take back control of our borders and return our country to a sovereign nation? Because I don't think it is. So let's go and take a look at some of the other stuff that this guy has actually said recently. We all know what's coming up now, I'm guessing. Close that. Close. There we go. Right. So obviously, he said this about the Burka. This is just a short clip, by the way. It will repeat. So this was his stance on the Burka.
So it is now party policy, is it?
No, it is not party policy.
So it is now party policy, is it?
No, it is not party policy.
So it is now party
So
policy.
when it pauses, right, so the Reform Party's stance on the Burka is that they won't ban it. They won't ban it. And we know why they won't ban it. It's because Zia Yusuf was offended about Sarah Pochin's question, and he doesn't want the Burka ban because he's a Muslim, and that's it. And that's why he threw all his toys out the pram the other day and resigned, is because he didn't like that question. That's why he came on and made a statement and said it wasn't Reform Party policy. He then doubled down on that and came out and actually attacked Sarah Pochin's for asking the question and said that the question she asked was dumb. So this is why the Reform Party will not ban the Burka. It's all down to Zia Yusuf. We'll go and see what other stupid things this guy has actually said. So obviously you know what's coming up. We've got the thing about, Britain's, migration is Britain's lifeblood. Absolute. What is this guy doing in a supposedly right-wing party? If the Reform Party is truly right-wing, then why are they having people like him in it? All evidence seems to point that the Reform Party isn't a right-wing party. It's a centre-left party. But for some reason, the Farages just can't seem to get it through their heads that Reform is not the party that's going to save this country.
Are there any other items of clothing that you think are a threat to public safety?
So I think that the key for me about this is it's about integrating into this country. Immigration is the lifeblood of this country. It always has been. But also, if you come to this country, you have to...
Right, so I know lots of people have touched on this, but I'm going to have to repeat it because it bears repeating. Right, from 1066 till 1965, when we had the Windrush influx, I think that was 1965, I'm not sure. Correct me on that in the comments if that's why that time period is from 1066 till 1965. I'm kind of guessing that's why it is that. We haven't had any migrants coming into this country in that time period between 1066 and 1965 for a very good reason. It's because we had an empire. We were actually going out into the world and we were bringing our democracy and our way of life, civilization, to the uncivilized. That's what we were doing. And I know I'm going to get people in the comments saying the British Empire was evil. It was doing evil things. I'm not going to deny that the British Empire did some pretty bad things. But on the whole, as an empire, it did more good than it did bad. And let's not forget, there are other empires out there that did way more damage than the British Empire ever did. The Ottoman Empire, but that's from a demographic we're not allowed to talk about. So, yeah, absolute bollocks this guy is talking about. But let's let him carry on. So I'm going to rewind that a little bit. We'll let him carry on.
But also, if you come to this country, you have to adopt our culture, our systems, our values. And covering your face is a barrier to communication. And I mean that, whether it's the burqa or whether it's actually scarves, Antifa scarves, which are being put around your face.
What a cop-out. What an absolute cop-out. Just say what you mean to say. Right? You want to ban the burqa because it's oppressive towards women and it goes directly against this country's culture of, women's rights. That's why it also needs to be banned, for that reason, for religious reasons as well. We need to ban it because, and I know idiots are going to come out of the woodwork and say government shouldn't dictate what people wear. Well, the fact is, if that's the case, then why are you allowing religion to dictate what women wear in this country? Why are you allowing husbands to dictate to wives what they can and cannot wear? And this isn't like they have any freedom with this either. They'd have no freedom. If they refuse to wear the hijab or the burqa, then they are ostracized from their community. They are punished. They have no freedom. And that's because idiots like this won't tackle it. They won't tackle it. But again, he's contradicting himself, because then in the next breath, in the next interview, he was saying, oh, it's not Reform Party's policy to ban the burqa. So why the hell are you talking about it? This is what I mean with the flip-flopping within the Reform Party. They don't even know what their own policy is from second to second. 1 minute, oh yeah, it should be banned. The next minute, it's not a policy to ban the burqa. They have no clue what they're doing. They really don't. So we'll go and take a look. Because obviously, while I was doing my live stream, he came on to GB News, who asked him to clarify his position on saying that migrants were Britain's lifeblood, and he doubled down. This again, it's a short clip, but we're going to play it.
We are an island of immigrants. We are an island.
So that's all he said. He says we're an island of immigrants, which of course isn't true. We're not an island of immigrants. We're a collective of countries that have a history going back thousands of years. And it's ridiculous to say that we're an island of immigrants. We're not an island of immigrants at all. We are an island of immigrants now because of idiots like this who believe in open borders, praising Angela Merkel for just opening the borders and let them all in. But what benefit have they brought this country overall? They haven't, have they? If they're such a benefit to our country, then why aren't they in their own countries, making those countries better? That's a question that's never answered, is it? Why are they coming from such shithole countries if they're so great for our country? Why aren't their countries great? That's something these people never answer, and they never will answer, because they know the answer to that question. It's because they are no benefit to this country. And here we have Nigel Farage making a prize class 1 grade A tit of himself in a press conference. This was just outstanding from Nigel Farage. You know, people say that he's a great speaker. Yes, he is a great speaker, but he's not a leader, and he's not particularly that intelligent, in my opinion. He really isn't. This again, it's another kind of far left talking point that he's agreeing with, without actually knowing that he's agreeing with it. So we'll let it play in a minute when it loads up, that is.
You say that you would like to give priority to people from Wales for housing. How would you define a Welsh person?
Well, it's a very fair question from your channel. We hadn't proposed the Welsh language test. No, look, it's got to be somebody who's lived and is settled in Wales, has paid taxes and obeyed the law. And if someone's done that for a 5 or 10 year period, then I think they've every right to say that they're fully part of the Welsh community.
Now, what an absolute load of bollocks, right? So, if you come and settle in this country, if you are law-abiding, you pay your taxes, you will never be Welsh. You will never be English. You will never be Scottish. Because to be those things, you have to have a tie to the land. You have to have a heritage, like we have. Our heritage is our ancestors that have led us to this position now. We can trace our lineage back to these lands thousands of years. A settler coming here from Pakistan or India that settles here for 5 or 10 years doesn't have that lineage. They can't claim to have that connection to these islands. And it's the same for me if I was to go to India or Pakistan, and I can't call myself Indian or Pakistan because I don't have a connection to the country like the native population does. It's a simple fact of, heritage. And, with Nigel Farage saying this, he's erasing our cultural identity. What makes us English, Scottish, Irish, Welsh is our connection to these lands. And he just took that away in just a throwaway comment. He said, well, if you just come and settle here for 5 or 10 years, then yes, you're part of the Welsh community. No, it doesn't make you Welsh just by settling here for 5 or 10 years. That's a load of rubbish. These are far left talking points. This is what the far left would respond if they were asked a question like this. They're not defending the native people, like saying, look, you can come to these islands, you can settle, you can pay your taxes, you can be law abiding, and if you do all of that, then you will be welcomed. You will be, a part of our great heritage and cultures. But he didn't say that. He didn't defend the native population. He just said, oh yeah, you can just come and settle it for 5 or 10 years, and you too can be Welsh. God, they're just awful. Just awful. This is a great one. I wanted to play this because this is what I was talking about in my live stream last night, where the whole thing sounds like an infomercial for the vaccine. I'll just pause it and then we can get the sound on it when it pauses. That's it. There we go. But just listen to this. This was Richard Tice and John Bull basically saying that care workers should get the vax or they should lose their jobs.
Is about caregivers. They really must be vaccinated because otherwise they're putting elderly and vulnerable people at risk.
Well, it's absolutely critical to their job, surely. I mean, I don't see how they can do the job if they're not prepared to be vaccinated.
And of course, you see in the UK, we don't believe in compulsory vaccination. Now, you can argue whether that's the right or wrong thing, but the one thing I will tell you is there's no way you're travelling abroad without a vaccine because the airlines are going to demand it, and so are other countries.
But there are many jobs where actually a certain level of training or ability is required to do the job. And surely, if you're going to be a care worker, then you must be vaccinated in order to protect the residents.
Yeah. There are a couple of things I'm very worried about. One is that...
So that was those two Muppets pushing the vaccine during the lockdown. And let's not forget Nigel Farage's grandiose, absolute, grade A, massive red flag that he gave when he suggested that Tony Blair should be put in charge of the vaccine rollout. Let's not forget that little gem. So when you couple that with this, do you really trust the Reform Party? Would you trust the Reform Party if the World Health Organization said, oh yeah, there's a pandemic again? Do you think these people wouldn't lock us down? Do you think they would resist locking us down, or do you think they would lock us down, given the information that you have about them now? Because I don't trust them. I don't trust them as far as I could throw them. These people are not a right-wing party at all. They're a left-wing party masquerading as right-wing. It's like wrapping up a dog shit in some, I don't know, coating a dog shit in honey and then suddenly biting into it and finding out, yeah, it's not what you thought it was. That's the Reform Party. It's honey-covered shit. That's exactly what the Reform Party is. And here we have the man himself, Zia Yusuf. So obviously his sudden return to the Reform Party. So this must be Nigel Farage's thing that he gave Zia Yusuf so that he wouldn't go to the press and reveal all the grievances about the Reform Party like he threatened to do so. Zia Yusuf to run for Parliament at next general election or sooner if by-election takes place. And exactly, this is Basil the Great. Now we know what Farage offered him to give up his shares, keep quiet and rejoin Reform. Would he get your vote? He would absolutely not get my vote. Wouldn't at all. And anybody who votes for the Reform Party now, after everything that these people did to Rupert Lowe, the way they tried to destroy that man's life, the way they tried to just put him in prison on false allegations, the smears they've made against this man by putting press out that he had dementia, which was completely false and just lies. the smears they've done against him. They kicked out Ben Habib. They kicked out Howard Cox. That they've done this to loads of people. Why in the hell do people still think that these people are honest, genuine, good people? They're nothing of the sort. Absolutely not. And given all this evidence, would you really vote for these people? Because I wouldn't. Not in a million years. There's too many red flags. Way too many red flags to vote for these people. See if I've actually done anything else. Reform Chairman David Bull, who's he called? Oh, here we go. This is where he calls Farage dangerous. So this will be interesting. Let's see. Let's see how he weasels himself out of this one.
You've got to look through. Everyone's going through everything I've ever tweeted.
Yeah, no,
and
but
I've seen all of that coming up.
When you said his comments are ill-judged, prejudiced and dangerous, those three words will come up a lot when people describe Nigel Farage. So it's pretty extraordinary that they've come up in a tweet that you yourself wrote and you're now the chairman.
But you've got to look through. Everyone's going through everything I've ever tweeted.
Yeah, no,
and
but
I've seen all of that coming up.
But we're now talking about policy, reforms policy, because those are words people associate.
Let's be very clear here,
for instance, let me just ask the question. Zia Yusuf, he resigned because of the question asked about the burqa.
That's not true.
Which, well, it's one of the reasons that he resigned. He said it's not part of party policy.
That's not why he resigned.
Well, why did he resign?
He says that he resigned. He was absolutely exhausted and he was working all hours that God sends. He had so...
Right, what a load of bollocks. What an absolute load of bollocks. And look at the way this guy was squirming then. Zia Yusuf quit the Reform Party because Sarah Poaching asked that question in Parliament. He got offended, he threw his toys out the pram and he quit. That's why he left the Reform Party. There's no other doubts about that. Everything else is just party policy and spin doctors spinning it to try and make it, trying to do damage control on that situation. But here we have him doing a complete U-turn on everything. This is Dr. David Bull. So, you, Dr. David Bull, are a liar and evidence is here. Your desperation, Nigel Farage, to find a new chairman is a joke. Reform Party are a joke. Zia Yusuf is a joke. Richard Tice is a joke. You've destroyed your credibility and the party to save Farage must never be. New Reform Chairman David Bull now claims he never said immigration was the lifeblood of this country. You can't make this up, can you? Do you really trust these people? Do you really trust what these people are saying? They're just liars, absolute liars. But let's get it up and listen to what he's actually saying, shall we? Just pause it so it's not playing. I know this video is going to be a long one, I'm sorry, but this is a video you can show the Farages and say, when they ask you for the evidence, you can just show it all in one video and say, go and watch that video. This is where these people actually say these things.
You say it's out of control, but you said you also said it was the lifeblood of this country. It always has been.
No, controlled immigration, and I've been misquoted on that. Controlled immigration, and so I think that the key for me about this is it's about integrating into this country. Immigration is the lifeblood of this country. It always has been. But
you say it's out of control.
So there you go.
But you said
Absolutely. Backtracking
always has been.
badly on that one. He knows he messed up with that one. What an absolute clown show the Reform Party is. If you still are considering voting these people and your only reason to vote for these people is to stop Labour getting to power, why? Because they're no different to Labour. They will be no different to the Labour Party. They will be no different to the Tory Party that has let us down for the past few decades. They've been no different to the Labour Party that's let us down for the last few decades. They're the third cheek in the arse, and they're now the tri-party. They're fully part of the tri-party, these people. They call themselves the real opposition. The opposition to what? They're the same as the other two parties. They're mainstream, and they're not going to save this country. This is Vindicator, signing off.